Welcome to King 5. I'm Greg Copeland. This is The Week, a look at what made headlines in our region, along with your weekend forecast. We're going to begin with the so-called millionaire's tax, which is now heading to the governor's desk, but not before a record debate at the Capitol, more than 24 hours. This would be Washington's first income tax and is expected to face legal challenges. Households would have to pay about 10% on any income above $1 million a year. Now, last week, Governor Ferguson said he would sign that bill after lawmakers added some more tax breaks for small businesses and low-income residents. The path to the governor's desk, though, wasn't easy. Here's King 5's Maddie White.
Just inside these chamber doors, my colleagues and I at King 5 got a front row seat to what may have been the lengthiest House floor debate ever inside the Capitol.
63-46, as amended by the House, is declared passed.
Celebrations erupted for the millionaire's tax on Democrats' side of the aisle.
Madam Speaker, there are 51 yeas, 46 nays, 1 excused.
The bill imposes a 9.9% tax on household income above $1 million, something Washington has long debated.
So it's a really big day.
Supporters say this is long overdue reform in a state they call one of the most regressive tax systems in the country.
This has been a lot of work that's gone into this tax reform, and we think it's going to really pay dividends for Washingtonians.
Democrats say the money will expand the working family's tax credit and fund things like child care, health care, and education. During debate, supporters said the ask is simple.
We are asking the 21,000 wealthiest Washingtonians, that's 0.25% of Washingtonians, who are doing the very best financially of any of us, who currently pay far less to support our shared needs than the poorest among us do, to chip in.
But Republicans warn the measure could grow far beyond its original target.
This bill imposes an income tax on the people of Washington state for the first time in over a century.
Opponents say they fear the tax could eventually reach more than just millionaires. Others argued an income tax on one population of earners is unconstitutional.
It has to be applied evenly. And that's where I think that the courts are going to come in.
Despite the sharp divide, there was one rare point of agreement after the historic 24-hour debate.
The House is now adjourned until 9 a.m. Wednesday, March 11th.
Everyone here is exhausted.
So days before the bill made its final movements through Olympia, hundreds gathered at the Capitol to protest the new tax proposal, among other Democratic-led initiatives. Republicans worry the tax will expand to lower earners and eventually to everyone in the state. Christian Balderas reports.
At the Washington State Capitol campus Saturday, Republican voters are angry and nervous.
How are you feeling right now?
Not good. Not good. They have control.
Hundreds gathered for 2 separate rallies to oppose Democrat-backed legislation, namely a proposed 9.9% tax on millionaires. This would impact less than 1% of Washington's population, but those here say,
I don't believe it will stop at millionaires.
In the morning, a religious demonstration by about 200 people on the steps of the legislative building.
But we are not here to curse Washington, no. We are here to call her back to her God-given purpose.
This was hosted by a local chapter of the organization Turning Point USA, founded by the late political activist Charlie Kirk. Representative Jim Walsh spoke at both events.
And I would put it to you that the reason the far left wants a state income tax isn't just for the money. I mean, they want the money, but it's not just the money. They want control.
I'm a businessman myself.
This man drove over 3 hours from Wenatchee with his church. It's his first time at a political demonstration.
This is a family of God situation, and I'm here to support it.
Shortly after, people took to the streets.
We have a small business. We don't make anywhere near $1 million.
But you still care about this.
But I still care about this because I know how much it takes to run a business.
I'm so glad they can hear.
Sherry Shooter runs a small electrical company. She fears the tax would mean less jobs in Washington state.
I mean, Starbucks just opened a business, a corporate office in Tennessee.
Democrats, on the other hand, stated that this would fix Washington's regressive tax code and make the system more fair. In Olympia, I'm Christian Balderas, King 5 News.
Well, a former ramp worker at SeaTac Airport has reached a 7-figure settlement after a baggage tug accident left her permanently disabled. The young woman sued several organizations, including Alaska Airlines, its baggage handling contractor, and the Port of Seattle, blaming them for unsafe conditions that ejected her onto the tarmac. King 5's Alex McClune shows us the crash and what the settlement means for that worker.
I wouldn't really say it's justice because I don't get my leg or my old life back. But it helps.
Tia Valentine of Seattle says her $2 million settlement will help her start a new life. She was a ramp worker for Alaska Airlines when 4 years ago she had a devastating accident at SeaTac. She's still wearing a brace and lives with chronic pain and limited mobility.
I'm more than likely still going to have a lot of treatments that I have to go through because I have arthritis in my leg and I have future surgeries.
This is the moment before the crash in 2022. Tia is a passenger in the white baggage tug moving in the center of the screen. Right here, they take a sharp left turn to avoid the van. You can't see it, but that turn threw her onto the pavement and the tug ran over her right leg. You can see the blood on the tarmac.
Is it safe to work at the airport doing what you did, working with those tugs?
Not without the safety measures. No, because if we had the safety measures, I wouldn't be in this predicament right now.
The main safety problems laid out in Tia's lawsuit were the open-air design of the tugs and this orange seatbelt on the left. It didn't work, saying the locking mechanism was malfunctioning.
I have good and bad days. Walking I can do for a good amount of time, but standing from sitting I can do easily now.
In court documents, the Port of Seattle denies liability in any wrongdoing. Documents also show it was Alaska Airlines insurance company, not the port, that paid Tia the $2 million. That means no taxpayer dollars were spent in the settlement.
These are injuries that are not small. They're catastrophic.
Raymond Bishop is Tia's attorney. He's represented 3 other ramp workers who have also been injured on the job at the airport.
Each of these cases, we're filing for the same reasons, because the equipment isn't safe, because the equipment doesn't have cabs put on it, which in many cases could prevent the injuries completely.
Bishop says his office is preparing another lawsuit tied to an injury on the tarmac, this one involving a young man and another tug in 2024.
Tia's now hoping to use her settlement money to go back to school.
I was thinking business, accounting. I just know I want to just go to community college, get my 2-year degree, and then start working.
In Seattle, Alex McClune, King 5 News.
Well, a fugitive wanted for a deadly Federal Way shooting dodged police for nearly 3 years, but the FBI finally caught up to him. As King 5's Natalie Swaby tells us, the alleged killer is sitting behind bars in the King County Jail after an international arrest.
73 minutes, that's all it took from the moment the FBI added Samuel Ramirez Jr. to its 10 most wanted to the moment agents arrested him in Mexico. For the list, it's the fastest capture in agency history. And for the victim's family and friends, it's a relief.
Walk into Star's Bar and Grill in Federal Way, and you can still feel what this place lost.
You know, all it takes is one person with a gun, to just totally destroy things.
Owner Tina Nelson knows that better than anyone.
I loved having them here.
She's talking about Jessica Hone and Katie Dunkey, her employees. She says Katie lit up every room she entered.
I don't think there was anybody she didn't like. And then Jessica was just, she was so good to people and so kind.
In May 2023, both women were working a shift when Samuel Ramirez Jr. stepped through the door.
He came in, he had fun, he was interacting with a lot of people.
Then in the parking lot, investigators say there was a dispute and Ramirez hit one of the women. A male customer saw it.
And he just happened to get caught up in the middle of it.
He tackled Ramirez to the ground and punched him. Court documents say Ramirez told him he was done fighting. Then the customer backed off, and that's when Ramirez reached into his pocket and pulled out a handgun. Police say he shot and killed both women, then fired at the customer.
He was shot out 9 times. 9, and luckily only one bullet hit him, and it was in the arm.
Investigators say Ramirez ran, and Tina Nelson refused to let anyone forget.
I want the word out there. I want people to see his picture. I want the story to be out there.
This week, on Tuesday, the FBI added Ramirez to the 10 most wanted list and offered up to $1 million for information. 73 minutes later, they had him in Mexico.
I am so happy. My prayers have been answered. Finally.
For Tina, she's still on a mission.
To get justice for those girls. You know, they did not deserve that, and he doesn't deserve to be out there living the life. You know, he needs to pay for what he did. He needs to man up.
The customer wounded in that 2023 shooting tells me he's grateful Ramirez is off the streets. Ramirez will face a judge in King County Superior Court within the next 2 weeks. In the newsroom, Natalie Swaby, King 5 News.
When we come back, a front row seat for aviation and an exclusive look inside the world's largest factory. But first, meteorologist Adam Claybon has a look at the weekend forecast right after this.
All right, everyone, it has been a very active week, and as we get ready to head on into the last weekend of winter, spring officially starts next Friday. Excited about that. I know a lot of you are. Wanted to go back and look at how much snow we've seen across some of our mountains here. 4-day totals are coming in pretty impressively across some of our spots. We're talking about close to 3 feet around Mount Baker, closing in closer to maybe even 5 feet around Stevens Pass. I know we are not done with the snow yet there, but we're going to be over 4 feet so far here for that 4-day running total. And down around Snoqualmie Pass, Crystal Mountain, around White Pass, everywhere at least getting close to, if not more, than 2 feet of snow, and we still have a little more to go as we go on into the day on Saturday before things start to change up a little bit as we head throughout Sunday and then into next work week. Now, wanted to show you this right here, the rainfall amounts we've seen since Monday morning, or really more so precipitation amounts, because this doesn't include the snow that we have seen as well, but anywhere between about maybe a ½ inch only around Bellingham, up to 3.5 inches in Olympia. And that kind of really also shows you where the orientation, where the placement of that atmospheric river was as we made our way here throughout the week. The farther north you are, the less precipitation you have seen. The farther south, you were closer to that moisture tap of that atmospheric river, and definitely came in a lot more as far as the rainfall with that also. And wanted to also show you that, yes, we are under a winter weather advisory here for our Cascade foothills around Puget Sound, from about southern half of Snohomish County down to Pierce County until 11 o'clock heading into Saturday morning. For that reason, we have extended first alert until the middle part of the day on Saturday, 11 a.m., when that advisory will end for us. And still keep an eye out for that rain and snow mix early into the day on Saturday, but should see a little more sunshine into the afternoon. Let's talk futurecast and kind of show you how things will shape up for us, because this atmospheric river will be heading its way on off towards the south and to the east. And you can see that long line of moisture that's just off of the coast right there. That's going to be heading off and out in the area. Futurecast showing us how we are going to be dealing with a little more of that moderate to heavier rainfall for areas across the southern part of the state. A lot more of the moisture definitely going to be down that way, but it's also going to be warmer down there. It's a really sharp cutoff line as far as where we have the air that's supporting some of the snowfall, the wintry precipitation, as opposed to where we don't really have it in place. And it's been down in Portland earlier on Friday. They actually had temperatures in the 50s down that way, while areas here closer to Seattle were closer to that freezing point. So again, very sharp cutoff line as far as where we have the colder air and the milder air, and you can see quite the difference too between those two different air masses. That's going to continue to diminish as we head on to the day on Saturday. For those of us near and north of Seattle, I think we'll have the better chances of seeing some of that additional rain and snow here as we start off the day. Foothill communities, best chances of maybe seeing some additional accumulations with that, and then we'll see things taper off as we head throughout more of the day on Saturday and then into more of Sunday. We're expecting to see quite a bit more of that moisture to come on through here, and that is going to lead us to what we're expecting heading on into next week, where you can see that we're going to have more atmospheric river moisture. It's just going to be coming in from a milder and a warmer direction. And so as we continue on into Sunday evening, into more of Sunday night, Monday, we're talking about a lot of heavy rain ahead for us. Now, a lot of that will be directed farther to the north across BC. For those of us down here closer to western Washington, some of that heavy rain is going to impact us, but the big thing is it's going to warm up substantially too. Temperatures getting all the way up into the 60s by the time we head into the middle part of next week. Here's your forecast. Next 7-day stretch. First half of the day on Saturday will be a first alert day. Then things should start to quiet down a little bit for us, and we're keeping an eye out for some heavier rain to move on in again at some point as we head on into next week, depending on the placement of that atmospheric river. St. Paddy's Day should be wet again. Higher chances of rain farther north up near the Canadian border. And the first day of spring later into next week, temperatures finding their way back into the low 60s as we head into next Friday, as we see a high of 62 and see a low of 49.
All right, welcome back to The Week. Chaos erupted at a Seattle intersection Saturday night after a group of street racers blocked traffic, performed stunts, and even assaulted a driver who had attempted to pass. King 5's Natalie Swaby shows us the illegal sideshow.
Tire marks on the pavement are physical proof of what unfolded here, and traffic cameras caught every second of it.
Anyway, in Stewart Street.
The trouble kicked off when a group moved Lime scooters and bikes into the road, blocking traffic.
Large crowd forming.
Then the drivers came in,
Four-door vehicle doing donuts.
spinning donuts and missing bystanders by inches.
Almost hitting pedestrians.
At Denny Way and Broad, street racers seized the intersection. Just after midnight Sunday, the 911 calls poured in.
Any unit for the priority hazard, anyway, 3 Avenue.
Before officers could reach the scene, the crowd turned on a 52-year-old man who'd tried to get a scooter out of his path to drive through. They assaulted him and damaged his car. When officers rolled up, the racers took off.
This is very dangerous to the neighbors that live by, to the businesses that live by, and it has major impacts in terms of what may happen if a vehicle loses control.
At City Hall, Councilmember Bob Kettle is keeping tabs on street racing reports.
Basically what we've heard is that there's been a little bit of an uptick. We had some instances of street racing.
Seattle toughened its city rules in 2024, hitting racers with fines ranging from $500 to $1,500. Kettle says the crackdown made a dent.
The legislation was doing some great positive impact, particularly that with the coordination that we do with surrounding jurisdictions. And so we've had a lessening, and obviously things can pop up and again.
Now in the shadow of the Space Needle, one day after the damage on Denny Way.
What we're looking to do is, delve into this and see what was happening and then engage with SPD. But we need to ensure that, this isn't the start of a trend. That is the key thing.
Under the law, first-time street racers could lose their car for up to 72 hours. A second conviction means police can pursue taking that vehicle for good, and spectators who knowingly attend an illegal race can face a $100 fine. In Seattle, Natalie Swaby, King 5 News.
Well, for decades, a Washington man thought his father had abandoned him and his mother. A discovery in the woods of Pierce County got him some answers, but also started a new mystery. Sebastian Robertson has the latest installment of Unsolved Northwest.
I had to search for him for a very long time. I was angry. I actually thought he just didn't want me.
Remains were found in 1978. Some mushroom pickers were out and they came across a lower jaw as well as several other bones. Detectives went out, did an investigation. There was nothing to show an ID on the person. They were never able to immediately ID him. My name is Detective Sergeant Lindsay Kirkard. I'm the cold case detective sergeant for the Pierce County Sheriff's Office. 10 years later, a bird hunter actually found the skull, and they had pieced the two together. A pathologist and odontologist looked at it and determined that it was most likely the same person. So everything does kind of correlate together to suggest it was the same person, and then obviously DNA showed that this was him. He was born in Port Orchard, I believe it was, but then adopted out into Vancouver. I was able to track the adoption to a family in Vancouver. It was a very prominent family. Dad was a lawyer, and he ended up naming his son after him, so the name is William Nelson Church Jr. When he went missing, he had a girlfriend, and when I tracked her down and was able to speak with her, she remembered him having a son that he had called Dougie. Later on, I took a photo that I had received from DOC and had our Pierce County Sheriff's Office sketch artist do a drawing from that photo. And then we put that out into the media, and it wasn't till, I believe it was about May last year, 2025.
You give it good time then.
That I got this call from Douglas Anderson.
Okay, we're ready if you are. Yeah, I'm Doug Anderson, son of William Nelson Church Jr. I grew up here in Vancouver, Washington.
Doug Anderson spent the majority of his life believing that his dad abandoned him. He didn't know that in 1977, his dad's girlfriend had actually filed a missing persons report with the Tacoma Police Department. That report says that Church never showed up for work, and in 2025, Anderson learned the truth. His father had been murdered.
I felt guilty, to be honest, because I had been angry. I had been upset, and I felt like it was wrong for me to feel that way now because, it wasn't his fault like I thought it was. I thought he just didn't want me. He just didn't care. He was a deadbeat dad. When really, in all reality, he wasn't able to fill that position because somebody had taken his life. Show you something that you're gonna be interested in, but I'll show you that this is the only picture I've ever seen of him. Is this, which is just crap. You can't really. That's the only picture I've ever seen. There's no other pictures I've seen.
Do you have any memories?
Well, no, because he disappeared when I was 3 years old. I don't even remember, to be honest, meeting him.
So this is a packet that we got from Pierce County Sheriff's Office.
That's gonna be weird. That's way different than I expected. I thought all hope was lost to actually have a vision, of my father, my biological father. I thought all hope was lost there after I found out that he was murdered. Yeah, that's the difference between night and day. That's amazing. William Nelson Church, look at that.
Wow.
You think it looks like me?
Up, nose up. That looks like you. Up. We've never had a chance to see him, and it's really great that we are able to. Because it's like all his life, he never really knew what his dad looked like, and now it's like he can see it.
I didn't want him to be lost anymore. On the cross, it actually says, not lost, not forgotten. I just felt like I had to go to wherever it was, the last place that he was, and have something that was a memory. And that's important for me to continue and making sure that it just doesn't go cold.
Well, it's the only place in the country that allows visitors to step inside an active aircraft factory, and it's right here in Western Washington. King 5 got an exclusive look at the tour that takes people inside Boeing's massive Everett plant. King 5's Bridget Chavez has a look.
When this plane takes off, people stop what they're doing. Cameras come out, phones go up, and the sky deck at Boeing's future of flight turns into a front row seat for aviation. It's not every day you see a Boeing Dreamlifter take off.
So it's a Russian nesting doll. It's a plane within a plane.
A modified 747 built to haul massive aircraft parts around the world. That's really the whole point of this place.
This is probably the single most photographed item in our gallery.
To see aviation up close.
And for as big as this is, it's still shorter than the newest bird we're making, which is the 777X, soon to be called 777-9.
Our guides Tim Detweiler and Greg Coe have spent years walking visitors through Boeing's history and the scale of what happens right here in Everett.
And this is a life-size replica of the Discovery Science Lab that's a part of the International Space Station.
Here, you don't just look.
It's just a simple concept but it's told in an active way that kids can get their hands on.
You don't want to yank on it too much.
You can fly,
go ahead and gently begin to pull
build,
back.
and test things out for yourself.
This is really a callback to like drafting tables from the old days at Boeing.
More than 6 million people have come through the Future of Flight since it opened in 2005. And the idea here is pretty simple. Whether you're a kid just trying to learn about airplanes or someone who's loved them your whole life, they've got something for pretty much everyone.
But the experience doesn't stop here. People who take the full tour can actually go inside the massive Everett factory where Boeing assembles its aircraft.
No airplanes get built without employees, and so we want to honor our employees here as much as possible, because I think that's the best asset that Boeing has is its employees.
From above the factory floor, visitors can watch aircraft come together one section at a time. And outside, they get to watch them fly. In Everett, Bridget Chavez, King 5 News.
I want to thank you for your time. We hope you enjoyed a look at the biggest stories of the week.